the other teams it's their own deal. So
business as usual for you guys then. Well, let's keep this moving. Let's move it on forward, and let's get back to the desk and see what they've got to say about all of this.
Big start for Omakin there as they get themselves the first win on the board. After second place at GLL, I feel like this one might be a little bit happy and a bit insufferable at the same time. Froz,
I don't know what you're talking about.
your boys.
My boys. My boys. No, they played really well, and one of the key moments that got them this victory was actually when they scouted out and saw that James was leaving the compound, because Liquid had a 3-1 split, right?
Sure.
James left that compound.
Yeah.
As he left that, they already knew he was the only one there, so they took it straight away. And I mean, they were just sitting there, holding everybody out, shooting at everything that moved.
Yep.
They had a really good, a little bit of doubtful. They were very wide, 1-1, 2-2 split in the first circle, and it actually worked out really well for them. Second circle, they moved again. They actually moved 3 times throughout this game, and then scouted up until now. We had a bit of a rough start for the boys from Mitigate, unfortunately. So I think really plowed them down. What I was most surprised about was actually TSM's. They kind of their rotation, and they kind of put themselves into a spot where they got into second place, but in the early circles, first, second, and third, they were really. For me, it felt like they were very stuck on the eastern side of the circles. They were kind of stuck on the outskirts of Los Leones, and I was surprised to see them go this far and come this far into their late game.
I mean, TSM is a team with this kind of lineup that TSM has. You're thinking they should be just steamrolling
Blasting.
over everyone.
Yeah.
They should take every fight they can, because they have some nutty fraggers on that team.
Yeah.
But they showed some weakness. They looked a little bit afraid in first circles, as you mentioned. But after circle 5, when they went to center, they later started shooting at everybody and just making sure we have the control over the circle here.
For sure.
It was difficult, I suppose, for them in that final engagement, TSM versus Omakin. It's a 4v3, admittedly. I really did like T-Bone's maneuver around the edge, even though he eventually sacrifices himself. I guess a 1-for-1 trade in that situation is a winning trade if you're 4v3.
Well, the thing is, if you have T-Bone making that flank there, now if you're TSM, you don't know, there might be a second guy underneath the ridge there just waiting again for another strike. He might just be very passive. So it's very hard for TSM to actually do something after that. And TSM had the initial knock on Omakin, even though they lost Chemty early.
Yes.
They should have taken that opportunity, go straight away and make something happen from
Also,
that.
their smokes. They were smoking for themselves rather than using a smoke screen to smoke off the whole line of sight that the Omakan guys were using. They have a really good ridge, which actually had a circle advantage as well. So they should have smoked off the ridge and then pushed on, maybe with a flank like T-Bone. It kind of countered them, but they smoked themselves instead and tried to smoke the center rather than smoking the enemies off, which was also something that could have been done differently for TSM.
Another thing that led to that TSM got second place was that they actually rotated and grouped up.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, when TSM was grouping up, Omakin was taking a lot of control. They were spreading out, make sure we're gonna put them together. We're gonna just sheep them up.
Hurting them.
Yeah, just herd them up into one little ball, and then we'll just destroy them.
Yeah.
And that is the prelude, basically, when it comes to our first game for how everything is going to go down here for the Europe qualifier for PGS Berlin. We are going to be back in just a moment's time. But before we do go off, let's hear from some of our teams coming to the qualifier, see what they think about the whole thing.
Well, it feels good. It's been a long time coming for us to get to like a big international LAN, and it just feels good. Really happy to be here.
Последние месяцы до турниров каждый день, ну, мы были на буткемпе, соответственно, примерно 10-часовые тренировки с праками, также индивидуальные тренировки, аимки, дезматчи и так далее. То есть все время мы уделяли игре и подготовке к турнирам.
We're in Group A right now, and there's some tough competition there against us. I don't think we're afraid of anyone, but I think WTSG showed like great by winning GLL right now. So I guess they're the best in our group.
Group A is the most stacked group right now, so we have top 3 from GLL in our group. So it has the best teams, so it's stacked. But I don't mind it. I feel like it's better group for us, because the better the teams are, you can expect them to do things certain way. So in my head, it's less randomness if there's better teams in the group. I mean, we will be in the top 6 because we're just good enough. It's nothing about deserving. We're just gonna show that we're gonna be there.
Well, I feel like people don't expect much from us, but we can have the potential to be a dark horse in the tournament and do some damage.
Thank you everybody for supporting us, and I hope we can make you guys proud by getting top 6 from this tournament.
I don't do shit talk, so I'm just gonna say good luck, have fun everyone.
A great start for some of the teams here, but not so good for some of the ones that we may be looking out for as well. Welcome back to the analysis test, guys. We've got many more things to be talking about. I'm going to start off with WTSG, of course. They've come off the high of getting themselves a first place at GLL. It was a fantastic result for them. 15th place in this game is not where they want to be to start.
Obviously not, no, but they're surrounded actually in San Martin. They have yes, 5 teams all the way around them, and there's the start they had at GLL as well was also rough. It was also in Miramar. They were having some rough times. Only I think 12 or 13 points in just the first 3 games. I had the pleasure of talking to them on Iro as well, and they're saying, luckily we are playing 6 Erangel out of the 12.
Sure.
We are an Erangel team. We get the vast majority of our points on Erangel, so they think they're going to be fine. But obviously, they're going to be playing 4 Miramar. They want to be able to get a little bit out of it, because we're going to have only the top 6 teams out of the 24 go through.
At the same time, you don't want to wait until it's time for Erangel, because
of course not.
By then, half of the games has already been played. So
that's true. Example was able to kind of pretty much rock them when they came up to the church compound there. And when you're coming in from the west, it can be difficult, I guess.
No, but they were very lucky with their position in the circle, where they got a northern hard shift. If they managed to do something with Tornado, they could actually got a decent amount of points from that game. Tornadoes, they got 9 here.
Yeah, Omkin there getting themselves the big share of the points up towards the top. Likewise, TSM getting themselves a lot as well. Of course, there are 8 teams that haven't done anything yet down towards that other side. So, of course, they'll be on 0 points for the day, guys. Don't worry, so it's just relax, so we will be seeing those 16 teams continue to be playing throughout the day. Actually, Inside Games obviously getting themselves 0 points during that game. First going over to Omaken, and now we're continuing with Miramar just for one more match, and that is that. I do want to bring up other teams, of course, though, because apparently we have limited time to be able to go between these games. Team Liquid getting themselves the 6th place in this game. They had a great spot in the circle for a long time for us.
Not only did they have a great spot, but we're seeing their old Liquid kind of gameplay here. They're doing a lot of splits. They're quick on the rotations. And you got to remember, they changed up 2 of the players in the lineup. That's half of the lineup. And usually when you do that, you might see some change in the gameplay because, hey, there was something wrong, something was not working. So we want to make sure something else is going to happen instead. But we see them coming back to the same old gameplay, but it's working out with this lineup. We saw them get 7 kills, and of course, they were a little bit unlucky there. Alia kind of destroyed 2 of them. towards the end there. If it wasn't for that, I'm pretty sure they would have gone in, probably gotten them third place or something like that.
I mean, they've changed the 2 names, but there are 2 big names that have come in, right? Mexi of FaZe fame, fantastic. K-Mind, one of the biggest names in NPL throughout 2019. So it's not like this is a tribulation that this team goes through. It's a very, very powerful roster on paper.
I mean, after PGC, they had to do a change, and I feel like they're a big winner after our roster royale of 2019, late 2019. They've gotten 2 very, very, very strong players, and I think they're going to be able to achieve better than they did this year than they did last year. Obviously, we saw them perform very well throughout PL, but I think they could potentially, when they've kind of molded together, I think they could potentially take home one of the big majors we're going to have this year.
GLL last weekend was the first time we actually got to see this new Team Liquid lineup, and they did pretty well. They got themselves third place and 1 point from the second place.
Yeah.
Coming in here in the first game already, they're showing some really good potential here. I want to see more from them, and they're just growing from every game to the next one. The more they get to play with each other, the more they get to know each other.
As long as they don't run into Alia, I suppose. That turn.
Literally 180 completely destroyed him, and he should have expected him to be there. The information should have been relayed back.
Yeah.
But he just turned on him and completely destroyed him. So well played.
Talking about K-Man, we got 2 North American players here. K-Man, of course, one from Canada, but we also saw Lample out there playing with Diamond Dog. So that's he's from America, of course, and it's kind of nice to see because we haven't had too many American players in the European leagues. We had some before, but we got a new face coming in. Lample, one of the maybe most promised players from America, actually.
And of course, when we're talking about European qualifiers and stuff like that, we usually do lump in Russia as well along with this. And one of the questions that I wanted to ask you guys is, where do you think the power for our Russia and Ukrainian rosters lies right now? Because when I look at all of the rosters that we do have available to us between them, you've got, you know, Na'Vi, Unity, Unique, Tornado, Energy. They all have a lot of power between them. But I feel like it's very spread now between. What are your thoughts regarding that?
I mean, obviously, after we saw Na'Vi change out 2 players, it on paper, removing a Doozy was removing a very, very strong player. But if you don't have the chemistry, if you don't have if the communications could be better, or if you don't agree on strategy, you need to do such a changes. And that's actually why I'm excited to see Doozy start playing with Pokemon and the new team.
Yeah.
They could be but I agree. We're not having like a 4-man superstar team.
See who rises to the top.
Yeah, and I think maybe we'll see that from this event. But I'm curious. But I kind of agree. We don't have that much that kind of collided team there.
Froz, I'll get your thoughts on that later on. For now, we are ready to get things into game number 2. It's our final Miramar of the day as we head back to the desert, ladies and gentlemen. It is the PGS Berlin Europe qualifier. We're getting into game number 2. So get ready, get set, let's go. It is time for Pamsi and Sims to bring you all the action once again. Game number 2.
I wanted to hype up the intro there, James. I promise you I did, but did you see Tomil's face then? Did you see what he did?
The cannonball.
The cannonball. It's just a peach of a man, isn't it? You can't get past it. South to east looking plane route. A little bit tricky actually here for some of these teams. I'm looking to see if this really punches anyone and puts them out of their comfort zone. We are seeing a pretty centralized pack though, I will say. Yep. So again, it may not be too much of an issue, but it could spice things up.
I've never been a big fan of the North in this map specifically.
I mean, same.
It's not very nice, is it? Kind of felt bad saying that actually. That's why I put on the end of the caveat this map only.
Yeah.
I find it quite hard. We see a lot of circles that go and hit more towards the central and more towards the water side than what we do up towards the north end. Oasis ending something like that, Torre Moada,
I'm still dreaming
few
of
and
it.
far between.
I'm dreaming of the Oasis end. I don't think I've ever had one.
Have you ever had the island yet?
No, I didn't get. No, I haven't had prison. I haven't had that. They reserve all the fun games for lesser casters. Wow. Give them something to talk about, you know.
Hey,
I'm kidding.
Look,
I'm kidding.
game 1 of PGC, where it went from the military and went all the way up back at I'll never forget that. That was stuff like that is what we want to see. Weird and wonderful circles that actually make people do work.
Well, look, as a spectator who gets to just kind of enjoy the mayhem of it all, of course, teams, players, any competitive person sits there going, I hate that circle. It's only for us sort of, sadistic people in the background. But we are seeing a pretty centralized circle. It's further north than the previous one. The last one did have a touch of the water in the southern side, but this is, again, I guess it's quite nice considering how heavy lent the plane path was towards the south to the east. It does at least allow some of these players to not be so panicked about it if it even was further south than that.
This is one of those where the power grid becomes a bit of a problem. One, you get a lot of circles that will just hit towards it. Two, the ridgeline that runs all the way around from south over to east, WTSG kind of Badlands, it's going to split where this circle goes. It's going to flood one way or the other. We need a bit more of a northern kind of circle if we are going to get that left-hand westernly push. But it is difficult, and it does dictate where she'll be flowing. It can be very, very problematic for this circle.
And one thing I'm loving is how polarized the top two teams currently are. If you want to look towards TSM, northeast, just outside of the circle, pretty comfy. They don't have any immediate danger, really. I think maybe Brexco could maybe get extended on, but that'd be unlikely. And then in the southwest, you have Omikun. So both of them almost, opposite sides, but in a very similar scenario. I actually quite enjoy that.
I suppose to kind of extend on what you say there, again, we speak about where the circle's going to be flowing and such, that road is a death trap. You can't really use it, so you are going to have to use the rough terrain. Maybe you go for a long swing and potentially chance power grid. If you get in there first and get a foothold, I mean, hell, it's very hard to completely lock it down. You've got to spread your entire roster thin, right? You have the two main hangars and you have the one building down at the south of it. So it's extremely hard. I remember the days of NIP that would constantly, and the Knights, they would always sit there and go to that bottom building. You can share it.
Hold on, Rich. We can see the standings. Liquid in fourth. I think that frustrated some people there. The way that they lost out
Doesn't have a helmet?
Anything. No, level 1 vest only, so maybe looking for more loot. It doesn't look good for Liquid at that point, because that's instantly them on notice here. That means that they can't have that spread that they wanted. They might be slowed down. And I think, again, it's not necessarily them sitting in fourth that's the issue, it's how they were sat in fourth that maybe flustered some people here.
For a team that drops Picado, for a flight path that was very south, they should know that there's going to be a lot of teams lurking in the midst here. They should absolutely know this. As a good player, you eye open, kind of predict where teams will be sitting. That's why we used to have the old system of, okay, get your guy on the bike and send him off to scout. Doing that, there's always that chance that you're going to lose him, and taking him to the final circles is quite
hold on. Are they doing
important.
a 2-2 here, Liquid? Are they doing a 2-2? Please tell me they're not. I get okay, do you know why? Because of PEL, Rich. I get nervous when I see them do early splits. I think everyone remembers the Liquid rotation. Lol. I get nervous. It's almost a different roster. They got 2 new players, and I'm still just a little anxious.
It's not even 2-1 currently. If either of those compounds get pushed individually with Ibby and K-Mind, it's going to be problematic. I like what WTSG are doing. That's the 2-2 waiting for the backside of the power grid push if the circle does flow up that way. More towards Sion and Ira. And Sion, by the way, is Samty. If you are wondering, he has changed his name and did speak to him before this. He will be going forward with Sion. So we'll respect it and keep going with it. It is upsetting because Samu is by far one of the most achieved players, probably the most achieved player in PUBG by far, but we respect it. We know who he is, and Sion will be moving forward with his name. He'll have Ira down there as well for support, but it is broken, but it is good for a safety net. There are options to rotate to the circle. The downside and the downgrade for that is that either of those players get off, you are not moving anywhere further off that road because teams are blocking it. It's a straight roadblock, north and south.
Yeah, I have a feeling this game, as much as a lot of teams are safe, look how just stacked it is at the moment between Power Grid and Los Leones. There's just a band of teams. Hard shifts here are going to be murderous, is all I'm thinking. If this hard shifts anywhere, it doesn't really matter where, you're going to be seeing a lot of teams put out of place. So no one's near Power Grid at this point. Everyone has opted for basically the space south, kind of, I guess, south to east to north around Picado.
Nailop will be given the information. His teammate was being shot upon. I'm worried about the rest of the team because when we look towards Orange, there were no scopes. It was both Iron Sight for the M4 and the SKS. As much as I love a good SKS now and again, Iron Sight distance won't do anything. If they've not, the bus is here. The ball! Yeet! Bye! Bye. Now you can turn, boys. Now it's time to push. Go on, son. Let's have it.
That was the world's biggest bit of bait, and I don't care if it goes wrong. That was amazing. That's made me so happy. I've missed PUBG. And now, Snoopy, please don't ruin my fun. I was having a great time.
Nade him.
Oh, he's got the nade. He doesn't know where he wants to go up or down or anything around, and it might just work. I don't know if it's close enough. It's not going to find him. Snoopy's in danger. His teammate's been flushed, and he's all alone.
I like this. Pushing out to the right-hand side. It's a bit
Oh,
controversial.
he's a
You wouldn't
lucky boy.
expect it, but they're hunting him down. They fancy a piece of this. He's being knocked by Vard. Oh, that was chaotic. What just happened?
I'm just so happy. That little truck, just a little party van, just
hits the head and just turns around like, yep, it's go time. That's the signal. Oh, Lord. What a mess.
Oh, I just
Fun,
got
though.
that You Got Debated song in my head now, just repeating.
What would have made that perfect if you would just do it at the horn?
Just a
Like,
little beep.
that's the signal.
That's it.
Tango
Shoot
down.
on my dude.
Oh, I'm miscasting this game.
Yeah.
Oh, it's so good.
God, imagine if we took it seriously.
We do take it seriously.
Oh, we do. It's the opening couple of minutes. It's fine. We do see a couple of players going down, though. Obviously, Unity have lost out a great deal at this point. Not how you wanted it to begin, but it was funny, at least. So there is that of a silver lining. It looks like, did the Diamond Dogs lose one here? So they are down to 3. So that's a bit of a loss. On the other side of things, Blaze, again, I hope they don't lose out on a player. This could be 2 games now, back-to-back, where they lose a player very early on. And they held on quite nicely towards the end of the end game. They didn't look too flustered. They seemed calm, collected. But they are getting a lot of attention in the way that you don't really want it. The vibes coming in. Oh, my God. Just look at it. Stone cold. Just doesn't care. Gets the revive. Get the damn shack and get a heal off. So they are back up to 4 for now. They are continuing to maintain this 2-2 as well.
Nail-up's finally struck. That was over by the graveyard up on top of the roofs and the bell tower next towards the church. Second grenade will come out. I think Orange, there is a doorway that he can get in there. Return from a different team at least removes the pressure. The nade wasn't good, but certainly done the damage. This could be another go signal, to be honest with you, to push in here. Monkey's already at the door. They might want to confirm this one. There's one player down, already knocked. And Nail-up could be knocking at the door any second. This is an easy 2 points. If they've seen the kill feed and been watching these kills, they know there's only 2 of them.
North shift. This is what I wanted to look at. If there was a hard shift away from that central pack, it's going to be really, really fun to watch because a lot of the teams are just on that southern cusp. Here's the push, though, coming out from Exalt. They are at the door. Unity have got their players back and they're holding angles. They've heard all the steps. Monkey, though, this man can be a real danger. He's a threat. He always has been. Quizzy.
That's a nade.
Oh,
I thought
it's a team nade.
Yeah, I saw it on the floor. I thought, is that a smoke?
Oh, Unity.
Well, Udier's nading his teammate as well. What are you doing, boys?
It's not quite refined. Let's put it that way. It's definitely not quite as beautiful as it once was.
But it works.
But it works. We are seeing a lot of teams now opting for the longer, wider swings, the long rotation. Liquid going left. You've got, the Diamond Gods going right. TSM, right side. I'm looking towards Omicron as well. They're still in the south, very slow on the way in. This is going to be treacherous. So this is the hard shift that we were looking at. If this happens, we're going to see teams very much vying for certain areas, some favorable spots for sure, but already the likes of Tornado Energy in a good spot. TSM going to try and really put themselves just southeast of Hacienda.
I'm intrigued to see where this circle shifts to, because between the hillsides of Minas Generales and still the hillsides of the power grid, we have inaccessible terrain that the circle can't hit, and it dictates the floor. It shows us where it's going to be going, so teams can preemptively set up. They can take and lock down trenches, essentially. They can just lock down good compounds, bunker themselves in and wait for teams to come knocking at the door. WS15 is on the move up in the north. They finally come down. Really quickly when we come towards WS15, my only issue with that I've seen, and we're only in game 2, so anything can change. But how many teams really have we seen that have always played edge, that have always been rather slow, have done well in the long term? I like to see more aggression. I like to see teams getting stuck in. If not, just getting a good foothold on the map, and rather than waiting for places really to become available.
Where's James going? I'm seeing him get back in the buggy right towards Hacienda. And they're in a bit of a weird split at the moment. They are not all kind of do this. They're all working just on the south road of San Martin. A couple of shots coming down towards them already, and it looks like the engage has happened. So I'm wondering to see what happens in the kill feed. Yeah, Jeems has just been lost. That was either poorly scouted or they didn't expect someone up there. I don't know how they've not seen this information, and now there's a problem. It looks like I don't know if they can get Jeems back here. It looks like WS15 want to kind of push a little further, get a little bit more brazen about this one.
Oh no, it's just crawling along as that car. It's got no tires. You even hear the metal just grinding along the floor. That's a headshot that's coming onto Ibby as well. There will be one answered back. He's on fire. He's not on blaze, but he is ablaze at this moment in time. Plateau's there, so he is in a safety net. But losing Jeems, essentially quite early on, especially when you've got 15 teams up, is going to be detrimental long term.
Hold on, Recrant, is he in the corner here? I think if he's in this building, there's a side where you can't really get out of, and I think, yeah, he's down the end of the corridor. He has to fight it. Really nice work on one. There is a second, though, and that's already going to be utility being put down. There was a flash in hand. You can see them trying to find a way through. I did see fire from behind, so he does have support there. And now can he find more? The reload, not ideal time. Level 1 helmet. If a headshot came in, that could be a disaster, but they're going to take their time. They're going to go for the revive. So is this now where we see the rest of Team Phantom creep their way forward, or do they feel this is sufficient?
Thank you for leading. It was kind of hurting me at the time, not leaning, just exposing all your body. Doing it. Is this something I don't know? I'd always be leaning in that corner, personally. He's got a decent gun, an M4 with a comp, so he'll be able to at least answer back any kind of force that'll be coming down that corridor, as he already has knocked one initially. And show the lack of utility in the grenades. Throwing in a flashbang like that, you'd always opt for the grenade first, maybe even just flushing out. So it shows that they're not going to be carrying them for now.
Let's look at this circle, Rich. Just kind of centralizing west of Graveyard in towards the main road. That road is no man's land. Now it's pick and choose. Do you go left, do you go right? Fex with a perfect shot. That was absolutely clinical. And Sunzi going to be feeling that tomorrow. So that is a really nice hold of ground there. The Diamond Dogs not going to be feeling too good about this up in the north as well. They're going to be working their way in towards this. TSM are just down towards the south, and ETG trying to make a move, and didn't go too good.
Yeah, Ubika just batters them both off the back of the bike. Ira now strikes as well. YMCA losing one player. Sadovnik finishes off and clutches the kill. That's job done, point in the bag for now. Lyron hoping this nade somehow by hook or by crook just finds its target. Ubika still chilling in there, maybe try and get Recrent back on his feet. It'd be really good. Lyron's having pressure from all the way up in the mountainside that at least removes him. And the first one, 2-1-2, will just try and blast through the smoke. Won't find any luck, but the nade actually finds its target. Another one like that, and they're both dead.
Honestly, thinking about that peak, I'm going to be honest, I don't know if this is patched out yet where you could do the right side peak. That's a little bit broken. So I'm not sure. Again, please correct me. I'll try and find out from the guys behind us if that's still in this or not, because obviously they don't play necessarily on the live patch. So it could be a little different. That might be why he was not leaning. He was going for the standout. There was a little bit of a controversy around that, and I think most people who keep up to like the Reddit sort of thing, keep up with the kind of cheeky goss that goes down. Wacky Jackie almost ruined everyone's time in PUBG for a while. But it wasn't him who found it. Anyway, WS15 on the move, looking for their way forward as well. They're going to try and work their way down, kind of following the steps of Liquid. Liquid have made it further back, but Ibby's still on that side. So Ibby's in no man's land. He's almost in enemy territory at this point. So he needs to be very careful with what he does here. I don't know if WS15 want to hunt this, or if they're going to just try and find their next route forward.
Ibby will still be crawling around off screen for now. The rest of Win Streak just up on the hillside, so they have to be careful because they are exposed to any Team Liquid members that want to come jumping down. Speaking of jumping down, Buster will go down. Sadovnik sees him, puts him on the floor for now. Lyron will escape the casino, but players will have his number and be able to see angles from upside that hill should they be looking this way. It's going to be a very dangerous run. It is a dangerous run. It's actually death from behind, unfortunately. The circle will begin to hurt. What hurts more is the flames, the fires just melting him down. Recrent tagging away. But the dot damage, actually, he does survive through, so Recrent will still know he's there. Can't push in, 2-2.
Look at this north side.
Nothing he can do.
The Diamond Dogs are trying to make the run now. TSM are under fire from, not too far away. And actually, surprisingly, Phantom goes down in the end. They were the ones who did so much damage on the way through. Now, IG fighting out in the east. They have got the first step there. That's good. That could maybe get them to work in towards a circle. But now the Diamond Dogs made the first move. They made the leap from the north, ahead of WS15, ahead of Liquid, and they might have just got in. I don't know how much fire they're going to get now, because they are now in the dangerous position that everyone's looking their way. And you're seeing the kill feed just light up. This is the sort of circle that now punishes anyone who by chance wasn't safe, wasn't in those middle positions, wasn't sitting on the right side of the road. It's as simple as it is. TSM now shifting further forward. They're working their way from the northeast. Fire coming in from Liquid, way up in the north, trying to gatekeep out WS15. And what this does is buy a bit of time for this man. Ibby might be on just a mission now. Just frag out. Do what you can. I'm not sure if he's going to be able to cross in this scenario. If he does, it's very lucky, and I think he's going to get punished now. He's been spotted, he's been called out, and that could be points for them on the board.
3 solid positions here. Tornado Energy, Salt, and WTSG. All main compounds, all main areas. Salt, you will be able to have teams allowed in the back of the graveyard, which is rather unfortunate if you get that because you've got enemy at the gates. If you can keep people at bay, then do so, but they don't. They have one team in there sharing it with them. Tornado Energy could mop the hell up here. They have buildings which will give them a level 2 platform to look down upon. Team Liquid, WS15, they all have to floor to them. TSM as a bigger extent, you have the ditches, you can play off the back of that. But IG have got different ideas whatsoever. They found one Michael, he's gone, they remove him from the field. This is the area that I spoke about. It's fragile, it's not great, but it's something. And at the moment, win streak and IG, they're all just having a field day. They're just finishing him off from different angles.
Yeah, IG up the top here can pretty much be literal kings of the hill. TSM, sadly, the timing was a little bit misplaced, and sadly, the positioning wasn't good enough. Everyone was looking at them, and even in their positions when they're split up quite nicely, a lot of vision was put down their way. They might be able to recover a few players so they can maybe look towards late game, just try to snake it in, and just hope that the team's kind of applying pressure from further north and, you know, such and so on, get distracted elsewhere, but they don't have a sustainable spot. Now, Tommel's going to do some damage. That's good for the Dogs. They need a couple of points here and there. They have managed to worm their way in on the north, and now Liquid make their move. And it's Tornado Energy on the other side. If you're watching this, the fire's coming in. This car is looking all kinds of bad. If he's gone down, Mexi is trying to make something happen for himself, try and find a bit of sustain. Not going to happen. There he goes. I think K-Mine's still alive, trying to make it on foot, but this is just a massacre. All of those teams on the outskirts have now been slaughtered. WS15 have been dealt with. We do see 7 trying to make their stand, trying to find a way forward, but even for them right now, Tizran's still pretty far out, and he's on the other side of the road to the other teammates. They're on the eastern side. He's still on the west.
2-1-2, K-Mine, Tizran, all in very fragile positions. All 3 of these teams should be going down, because once they come out from the safety of that hillside, Tornado Energy, YMCA, they will all have open vision of them, and they should be dead. Blaze, the first one to go. 13th position is their grave. Brexico, speaking of grave, next to the graveyard. 3 teams now inside circle. Where does she go? She centralizes up. Tornado Energy have to come out of the safety net of the buildings. There's still one there, maybe even the second one, if they want to place themselves within it, utilize that. WTSG, this is an interesting one for them. This is where they have to now fight for their money. They had an absolutely beautiful area. It's one where we see circles like to hit sometimes. More importantly, it's defensive. There's a bit of a blockade going around it. Now they have to extend their arms reach. Now they have to kill people on arrival and keep people away from the edge of this circle, because they will be creeping into the late game.
YMCA going to make the move. They're sending out players one by one. I like this covering fire. They're leaving 2 back to keep some pressure towards 7. That's quite nice. It gives the boys moving a chance, and it may not be a good one, but it's at least a chance. And that's what they've got to bank on here. Exalt, Salt, however you want to call it, I kind of like calling them Salt, are keeping a lot of people on their toes, but they just lost out on Monkey, and that's a bit of a loss because we know who's on the way. Omicron finishing first in the last game, now knocking at the door, looking towards the graveyard like it could be a bit of a party over here, and they're slowly creeping in, and they don't have that many teams behind them. Welcome to South George could get there and could find fun towards that, but then you look at 7, could do the same to them, so there's no easy way forward here for many of these teams.
Next big fight will be WTSG and 7. 7's encroaching on their position. They've yet to show their hand. Now Krabbit gets spotted out. Good read from VAR to look there for any last-minute creepers. And now it's the field there. The hammer comes down. Ira finds 2. VAR's also there. If they can clean this up, this is beautiful work from them. Holding the outside of the circle in this scenario, that's all they have left, and that's their only option.
I love watching Iro play. This guy, he's still been impressive, and I think as an individual, he still is impressive. There goes the final member. 7 kind of, I guess, succumbed to defeat at that point, knowing that their days were numbered. Welcome South George now gets some pressure removed. They're looking towards K-Mine. That's a point and a big name to take down. The remainder of Liquid. The rest of his team fell earlier on towards Tornado Energy and just about everyone else. Vard's going to claim it, and we're down to 7 teams, 26 players. Salt holding firm towards the building they took. Those weird little team nades, everything happening. It was a bit of a meme, but it's worked out well for them. IG have taken control of the northeast. Tornado Energy, while all this happened, did make it across the road. So for them, not bad.
Double drop comes in. It's in no man's land, and it's definitely bait for anybody who wants to go for it. But if you do get it, you will be rewarded. 4 men and a shack and just praying for dear life. YMCA have to come out eventually, and they have an open road directly in front of them. One grenade, if one player somehow managed to land it in there, that's 4 easy points in the bag and a placement nonetheless. One team we've been quiet on because they've yet to show their face. Omakon. They're just to the south of the graveyard. They have been creeping. They have been quiet. And now it's their time to make a move. And more importantly, what's good for them, Lauren? The church is in, and it's really next door to them.
Yeah, I was going to say, in a way, it's between them and Welcome to South George as to who wins out on that southern approach. But I feel like with the positioning that Omakon have, it should be theirs all day long. But they are looking towards IG as a potential fight to start with up in the east, maybe to deny the peak. But we have to look towards the north as well. IG have 2 players kind of polar east still, but they have 2 slightly further north. So Pixel's up there, Odroslovak is up there, and they're facing off against 4 players of Tornado Energy. So it's a bit of a tricky scenario for them to then navigate through. Welcome to South George, going to have to deal with YMCA. They are out in the kind of no man's land area. They're on the shrink that has to come in. So they are not happy about this, and we saw the position. It was far from paramount.
Difficult times for WTSG. Should they engage and show themselves to Omakon, Omakon can essentially get ahead of the circle, get ahead of the curve, and block them out. The only thing I don't want to see from WTSG is they bottleneck themselves. They focus too hard on YMCA. It's easy 3 points for them, I agree. But if Omakon backbuild this and go behind them, they could literally put everything they've been building so far and just throw it into the dirt. Omakon look like they're disconnecting and just say, okay, we'll go for the safety net, we'll take the building. Exalt continue on to YMCA. They're another team that get an eye line on this one. YMCA have got about a 10-meter run to get out of their eye line of the crossfire here. If they make it, then WTSG will happily throw a grenade and get involved. Through the smoke we go. Nades up eventually from this side. There it is. Bye-bye.
Yeah, nice on nade to close that out. Welcome South George going to claim, and that's where they want those points building, and they have made it through towards the southern side. Omakon, in the meantime, was kind of quieter about it, and I like that. They were playing towards the longer game. They didn't really want to get into that scrappy fight, because by that point, I'm pretty sure all of these teams were stabilized and been able to pick them off, taking over Welcome South George's position if they did try and fight them. Welcome South George, however, are now not done. They're starting to like the kind of feeling that they're getting here. They're starting to look a little bit more deadly from the south, firing across towards Tornado Energy, matching their opposing side in a way. And Tornado Energy are getting a lot of attention. That's the last thing they want in that situation.
Exalt waiting, central circle. Omakon hold both buildings, and it's merely to stop people advancing forward. Page gives his teammates somewhere to work with, to be fair. Regardless of where the circle goes, it's more centralized, so his teammates can at least meet him up, keep people at arm's length and keep them away from that. Tornado, fair amount of work to do. They may shift all the way and swing it, go towards the east, because in the west, it's just, they're just dead. It's as simple as that. Interesting scenario here where the circle will hit. You've got these 2 crates, which I know it's gear, but more importantly, it could be cover. You could take advantage of that. You could use this to your advantage. IG see this inside, are now inside the circle. They can't go too far, because once they leave the security net of this tiny little shack that they're going to be working with, Exalt can have a field day. And Tornado Energy, well, the smokes are up. It could be a baity one. Melman's on his own. Trying to find an avenue of approach on this one, but I tell you what, every single angle, they've got 3 teams who can see them. If it's not Exalt, it's inside. If it's not inside, it's WTSG.
Yeah.
They're in trouble.
Yeah, and I don't know how much utility they've got left at this point. It can't be much. Surely they are down to dwindling amounts. There was a smoke there on Melman, so that's a bit of a loss. Even in the short term, they could have maybe tried to find a way in, prone down. It's small, though. You're clutching at straws here. There's very little left for them in the north, and I think they know that. They've tried pretty much every angle, but they basically are, like, 4v10, maybe 12 right now, which is really far from ideal. So I think they're just trying to find a way in if possible. Nice old tags from Monkey from afar. That's from the centralized building. So they're kind of, you know, I guess, you know, plumb in the middle of all of this. What happens? Iroh's trying to stretch his legs. Works well for, you know, Welcome South George, because that means that the side that has really good vision towards where Welcome South George would potentially work towards, they'll be removed. So really nice for them. That's going to pay off down the line. That does alleviate that sort of issue from that area. And now we need to look elsewhere. Who's going to find the next fight? Because Omekan just lost a player. Not flushed, but now the damage in the graveyard. Who's going to be put in one? The nade came out. Oh, the shot! It's so precise from Page. Ooh. But the nade comes back in, and that flushes Ivor.
This gives Inside an opportunity to creep around the graveyard and maybe just eye up some other players. Udyr, Hanseong.
IG, they're about to go in.
It's time to, yeah, they want to get involved in this one. Vard at least answers back onto T-Bone. Nades are going to go up and over. We'll see if we can get another one knocked. Monkey finds another player, and at the moment, IG, they're just getting caught off individually. They're not watching their backside. They're focusing too much towards this AD Omekan fight. Adept will at least get the player back on the feet, but they're in the smoke. Sam Peak will be able to creep forward and just await them.
I haven't seen this much action, I guess, in a graveyard since I was watching Buffy about 10 years ago. Great TV show, that. Absolutely
That's
love
an
it.
old one for you.
Sarah Michelle Gellar. Confusing times. Regardless, Inside Games now looking for a way inside. I don't know how well they're going to do here. You do still have AD there. You've got Phantom and I think Noki just kind of hovering around there. They're holding in the kind of mausoleum. You know, they're waiting it out. They're trying to hold on. Because on one side, on the south, you have Omekan. Already did a bit of damage, but they lost one in the process. And now you're going to see the contact made from IG. Zampik's right there, and you're going to look for more. He's going to get it down. That's Noki left kind of in pieces, and I don't think anything's going to come from that. No revives potential at all. As IG actually, step by step, are kind of clearing through this. As I don't think Salt actually have good vision towards this. With the smokes in place, it's worked out very well. And speaking of working out very well, is this bit of vision here?
I think that's T-Bone's second knock, potentially. So Page and T-Bone will just bleed out. I don't know how Vazku can get them. He can. It's as simple as that. He's already been damaged himself. He's hiding down in smoke cover. IG somehow, again, I have no idea how they've made it to this point, just by playing edge and creeping in slowly when engagements have been going down. I suppose there's something to be said, moving under the cover of fire and other teams going at one another. It's really worked out for them. They are at the door. There isn't too much you can do. When Circle goes central, they'll have to move forward, but Exalt, they'll have them held back at gunpoint by the throat. This could be problematic if WTSG gets an angle on Pixel.
Yeah, Welcome South George just tried to move a couple of players up, and they've got Vard up. That was it. That was this run. I don't think they're going to get much more. Nice work from Shiv. How do they still have nades? Exalt Salt have been holding this so well. Now they know there's players just down the ridge for them. This has to put Salt on notice. Shiv's already working on it. He's trying to be, I guess, proactive, but he got called off on the timing. Free kill already peeking it. Shiv trying to find the timing, maybe catch him on a peek here, get that control in his favor. Nade comes out, though. This could be the free kill. Uh-oh, Udyr's there now. He's not alone. He's got teammate Shiv. Makes it back inside, and Salt just have to slow down for a second. Things are getting hectic. They're being surrounded on all fronts.
If you decide to inject yourself out the backside of the building, you'll have WTSG to deal with. Vazku finally found. Exalt knock him out. 4 position for them. 3 teams standing. Still plenty of players on this one with 12. All 4 on every side. Up and over we go. WSGSG, they'll put the smokes down because it's time to make this run. And it's an open run, and there's 2 teams staring at them. But Vard gets the opener. That's a good start. This could be fantastic.
Getting Vard into that position was absolutely huge. He was the big centerpiece that they were trying to put into play. The rest of them, I don't know if they can make the run, as Inside Games made the move at the correct time for themselves. But Salt's about to move out towards Vard. He's going to have to deal with a couple of these players. Free kill goes down. Monkey's there. Finds one. Trade comes back in. Vard is doing the work. And that's exactly what they needed. Udyr wants to try and fold on this. Maybe get a frag back. Miraku now in line, nade in hand. That always makes me nervous. We know what they can do with these sort of things. And they're dealing with threats on the other side. This could be huge for Welcome South George. They still have 2 standing. The nade found his place. But can he find any more? No. That's going to just roll short as IG try and stabilize. But Vard looks hungry. Pixel finds Miraku. And we're down to 3 teams. We still have Shiv alive. We still have Udyr standing, if I'm not mistaken. No, Udyr's just been flushed. Vard is doing everything he can. That's 7 kills, making it 8 if he can find Shiv, who just hits the deck. Zampeak left, Ostrolovac in front, 2 teams Vard. Can he pull off the 1v2? This would be incredible. Double peak, not gonna happen. Inside games, too calm under pressure, and what a game from them.
Nice to see the double push at the end. Sometimes teams will kind of fall apart in that scenario where you see a 2 versus 1, your teammates are just dropping like flies, but they work as a duo. They hit Vard, the animal, the machine at the end there. I'm not entirely sure how many he dropped, but he was banging points on the board for his roster. Fantastic work, but it is, at the end, Inside who get the job done.
Inside games, I've got to say, loved how they played out of that. Their positioning, it felt it was on a knife's edge. Could have gone one way, they could have fallen towards the likes of Omikun in a very similar position, but on the southern side, both working their way in forward. But the angle, they were able to occlude, I think it was Salt or Exalt, how you want to call it, Monkey and the boys, and just find that position right at the door. I'm so happy you got to see that ending. And also, I almost thought Vard was going to do that. If his helmet and vest was in a slightly better position, he could have done something. But again, I'm glad that you highlighted it, the double peak. It's really, really well done.
Well, you can go for the instant refrag, right? Regardless of what happens, if he somehow manages to knock a player,
almost impossible.
He can't get the flush, so you're going to deny the point regardless. And at that point, unless he just does something ballistic, then it can happen. We have seen it happen, but the double peak's real, at least for now. Honestly, another fantastic game.
Is that a man on like a little Segway? Wow, look at him wheeling around. All right, the interview's ready. You can go see what that camera looks like down there with Banks.
Yeah, the segue is pretty cool. Thank you, Lauren. I got Pixelic with me. Inside Games managed to take the second game here. But talk about that first game there, because it didn't go quite to plan for you guys.
Yeah, I mean, we played kind of greedy. As you could see, we played 2-2 split. It didn't go well. We started fighting Tornado Energy and Blaze, I guess, at the same time. So it was kind of tough time for us when we didn't manage to group up. And I mean, we got 0 points, so we deserve it.
Well, you deserve it. So you're being honest with this one, but you definitely deserve this win because Vard was coming around giving you guys an extremely hard time. It was looking scary in that 1v2 at the end. What was the communication like at the very end there?
We didn't know how many teams. We didn't know how many teams are alive, and especially about VTSG. We thought that they are dead or the last member is behind the drop. So we were like, okay, one guy can hold the VTSG behind the drop, and all the others will hold. I think it was, I don't remember the name, but yeah, in the compound. So yeah, Salt. So we kind of split. Freaker got knocked, and then we were only three alive, and it was so hard. And the communication was, I have to be honest, terrible, because at this situation, like, everyone was throwing smokes, everyone was throwing nades, and so it was so hard to communicate well and tell the info like that the other teammates needs.
And you're being honest with this, right? Honesty is the best policy, but you managed to take the win. And Ostrolovac, he managed to walk away with 6 kills. Strong performance from him. But it was you that had the good read on. You saw what WTSG were trying to do the whole time round. So did you have a good idea of how close they were getting? Because it was constant barrels of nades coming towards you.
We knew a little bit about the 2 guys on the hill that we knocked and killed. I think it was Iroh and Zemte or Gemte, and then the guy behind the drop, but we definitely didn't know about that. I was so scared because I had 3 times scope, and he was like meter far away from me, so it was kind of hard and scary as fuck.
Well, you managed to take the win, mate, so congratulations to you guys. Vard can be a scary man to deal with, but inside games take the win. Let's go back to the desk and move on with the next games.
Don't worry, of course, it is easy to get, Samty and Gemty mixed up in the past, I suppose, but there we go. Of course, Inside Games get themselves the victory here. 0 points in the first game, 24 points in the second game. That is a big result.
From 0 to hero.
This is something kind of what we saw similar happening in GLL last weekend with Inside, actually. They didn't do really very well, but then they had one game but it just went ham. They had, 17 kills and won that game as well.
Yeah.
Hopefully they can keep on being a little bit more consistent on their results because we want to see them in the top there. I mean, they're an amazing team.
For me, this talks to the caliber of teams that we have here. We have teams that went out in 16th, 15th the last game, and now they go on to be first and second. Really talks to how well these these teams are able to play. Obviously very center circle, they were somewhat close to it, but it's really rough with these circles. And WTSG, they played it super well. Inside games, as Pixel said himself, they played it very greedy, and they got away with a lot of stuff, managed to keep 4 guys alive for a very long time.
But I like what they did, though. They had a very greedy 2-2 split towards the north side, almost up until like
Picardo.
Yeah, on like circle 5 or whatever.
Yeah.
But it was also how they were playing. As soon as Tornado started pushing them, the 2 guys on the north, they fell back and grouped up with the other 2, making sure that, okay, we're going to be one strong unit. If we're going to take this fight, we're going to make sure that we have the upper hand.
Definitely so. More of the highlights coming in. Vard actually one of the big playmakers for WTSG, even towards the end. We've known Vard when it comes to PUBG and big plays for a long, long time. It's usually not very hard for Vard to impress, right?
Yep, that's true. Match number 2, our bottom 8 teams. Not a lot of points for TSM. They just had a great game, obviously, but Unity going out early, no points. A lot of what we would call having a bad game.
0 to 1 point.
0 to 1 point. 6 of the teams here are getting that.
Poor Umka esports there. The Red Panda themselves.
I mean, at the same time, having 1 or 2 bad games, all right. If you can win a game, that's going to put you above that anyway, and it's going to average it out. Like inside games, bad game last one, WTSG as well. But with this win and second place for those 2 teams, they're evening it out.
24 points and 19 points coming in for first and second place as we take a look at the head-to-head between these 2 teams. And WTSG, even though they came in second place, were blasting it.
It comes down to they were playing on the south side. They had a 2-2 split on the road early on, make sure that no matter if the circle goes east or west, we're able to play that. It went east, they grouped up, and they started playing from there. But it was also how they were moving in towards the circle. They always had someone sneaking up a little bit closer towards the circle while the others were covering, and they did it in a smart way. They waited until the other teams were fighting. That's when they sent one guy crawling into that circle.
Yeah. Let's take a look at how our damage leaders did shape us as well. And no surprise, big names from WTSG coming in after almost getting themselves to 3k damage done. But, of course,
Jong and Vard back to back there. It looks pretty cool.
But like weird boy band.
But having 3 guys up there on the top damage just shows how good they are. Like, because they weren't in a situation where they could just like literally just blast everyone. They had to work their way in all the time.
And even if Miracle wasn't there, he also did around 400, 500 damage as well. So he was close to the top 5. He was probably in the top 10 of damage done there. So really talks to how big of a game they had. 2,900 damage. That could be a record break unless we see somebody do like a TSM kind of size win with 21 kills or something like that. I doubt we're going to see more than 3k more than a few times maybe.
Sure. Tornado Energy is getting themselves 6th place after the 8th place in game number 1. At the beginning of the game, they did start rocking Unity a little bit. And obviously, that didn't really work out that well for Unity at the start.
I mean, this is why it's so scary with Tornado. They're super aggressive. They go for it. They got one knock straight away. They were just, we're going to send it. We're going to go for this. This is what we do best. We just go and kill everyone.
Yeah, and that's what they're one of my top 6 teams to go through. And that play style, the kind of the smash mouth, they're very greedy. They're very aggressive. And I think that's going to work out very well in this kind of be a best of 12 format.
Sure. I mean, arguably, they could have gotten even further had they not had a very rough position in some of those last circles, right? Is that fair?
Yeah, I mean, it was hard for them, but at the same time, I feel like they tried to make that move a little bit too late because they were afraid. They knew that Inside was up there east of them and holding them out. As we talked about earlier, how Inside was moving back, they didn't see that move back. So they were taking a little bit too slow there, and that kind of cost them the placements towards the end.
Fair. Is there anything, of course, now we are concluded with Miramar for the day. Is there anything that you take away from these 2 games at all, like pushing into the future for any of these teams in particular?
It's kind of hard to say when you have these kind of very standard, very centralized circles. We didn't have any rough shifts. And from how our teams are playing, they are playing very centralized. We have a lot of teams that are playing around the center more than we usually see. We don't have a lot of edge teams, so we can't take too much away from just these 2 games. Obviously, we just saw in the first game, WTSG and Inside Games had 2 very bad games, and now both of them had really good games. So not too much to take away from this so far, but I like to see how aggressive the teams are playing and how it is paying off. Tornado is one of them. They are 15 kills, 18 points total, so 15 of their points coming from that.
Your thoughts, Froz?
Yeah, I mean, we want to see some teams being a little bit more aggressive on Sanok. We know that there's a map that everybody's going to third party if they get the chance. So finish up your fight quick or just leave it. And we have some teams, Tornado that we mentioned a lot, being super aggressive. that's going to work out, hopefully, for them on Sanhok.
Omakan Esports getting themselves first place in the first game, fourth place in this game as well.
Omakan Sports.
Omakan Sports. All right, relax. And they are actually in first place right now with the 26 points, up towards the top. Inside Games with 1 game's worth of points are second. But to the point here, whilst we look at the overall standing, they got themselves that first and then into fourth place. Do you feel like they could have got themselves any more than a fourth place given the position that they were in that circle, or do you think that was enough considering?
I mean, it's enough. We're talking about average points per game, right?
Yeah.
It's all about the consistency throughout the whole series of games. And right now they're doing a good job. 13 points in average per game so far.
Yeah.
If you can keep that up, you're definitely going to be #1.
Yeah, 13 points per average would be insane. Interestingly, WTSG beat them for damage in 1 game that they did in 2, but that is by the by there. As we take a look into the future, because we have 4 more games to come. It will be Sanhok and then into 3 Erangel to get things finished off. Good times. Good times. I like our map variety. As you can see, our team's deliberating as to how they're going to start approaching things. In that game actually fell a little bit earlier than I was expecting them to.
Yeah, they got themselves 11th place, but also came down to the rotation. They were kind of caught out in the rotation and very split up, and kind of just lost players one by one. Now, something that's interesting with TSM is that they brought in Brexco to the team because he was a genius of an IGL, right? He played on G2, yeah. He played with G2 before. Now, they take a little step back, and it's not just Brexco, but Gemty and Brexco is co-IGLing on the team now.
There's been fluctuations in how it's been kind of working out for them as a whole, I suppose, in that role.
I mean, you gotta cut them some slack. They got 3 new players on the lineup. That's super
true.
hard to try to adjust to, because usually if you have 2 guys that is on board, this is how we usually play the game, this is how we can do it. With 3 new guys, everyone got different kind of things, what they want to do and how they want to play the game.
And Rory, of course, is as a coach. I said of coach. Of course, is here as coach. Can't speak, can't English.
Lots of C's.
Lots of C's.
In your only language.
There you go. Yeah, I'm a terrible human being. So
that's unfortunate.
What do you think about kind of his role now as coach?
Well, I think it's a big advantage having a former teammate going in as a coach also, because he knows obviously Michael. He can go in and support him with that. Michael was co-IGLing or also giving information when Gustav was on the team, but I think him being able to come in and support them both as a team and the structure and everything, I think it's a good thing. But obviously he's new to the coaching.
Yes.
I know he's taking some like courses and to kind of be able to support them even better. So I think it's a good thing, and I'm excited to see him grow in the role.
Interesting. I actually didn't know that. Do you feel like, so obviously both of you have kind of, I feel more so you, Froz, than Avenger. I can't recall if you've done a lot of coaching.
Not too much.
Oh, but do you feel like you need to be able to take some kind of outside influence from PUBG to then be able to bring it into like the coaching role to like push people?
100%. I mean, coaching a team, it's very different from team to team what kind of stuff they need help with and so on.
Right.
And a lot of it comes from like life experience and kind of like you can bring in from different kind of stuff depending on what you've done before. It's also learning how to talk with people. Hello, Monkey. How you doing?
Hello.
But yeah, so it's kind of hard if you never like work too much with people.
Yeah, sure.
Having a role like kind of above them and telling people how to work stuff out. It's kind of hard to coach if you haven't done that.
There's also so many different aspects of PUBG that can need coaching. It can be coaching in game. It can be coaching communications. There's so many different aspects, and the more kind of the different roles within coaching that coach can fill, the better.
Yeah.
For us is a good example. He can obviously coach some of the in-game stuff. He can coach some of the communication, and then obviously also some of the mentality and stuff like this behind. So the more of kind of those treats that you can have as a coach, the better.
Moving on to Sanhok for our next map, is there anything you're particularly looking out for here? Obviously, you've been mentioning it already. It's kind of more that, third-party style, very aggressive. What are your thoughts, Avenger?
Well, I think, again, the teams that are kind of Smash Mouth style of play, full shift W, whatever you want to call it, they're going to benefit from this, but they're only playing 2 Sanhoks.
Yeah.
We can't take too much away from, like, the closer that you are, like, the better drop you're going to have, the better you are going to be, but I mean, we can see a Northwestern circle with only 2 people or 2 teams dropping up to the Northwest, and then everybody else is going to have time. So I don't want to take too much away from Sanhok. I want to see the teams play aggressive. I want to see them just try to get as many kills as possible, not focusing too much on their placement until they get into the very late game.
One thing that is interesting with European PUBG here is that we don't have FaceTime here right now. And they're usually a team that takes a very center spot. They drop in Painan. They're early on the rotations.
They play very well on the map.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Is anyone going to fill that role? Are they going to take Painan? Are they going to play like FaceTime? Because it works for FaZe, but it might not work for whoever wants to take over that role.
I think we're going to see a few drops that are like some of the bigger places that are going to be shared. I think we're going to see a few kind of hot drops where we potentially could see some gatekeep because they are not as used to playing against each other. Again, our lobbies are shifting from day to day as well, so it's going to take some time to getting used to. Again, you only have one kind of chance, so for me, I want to see the aggressive style, but it's also a little bit, I think the teams are more taking it's a bit of a lottery ticket for them maybe, that they're not sure where the circle's going to go. They're just going to take the game as it comes and the circle as they come.
Well, since you're not playing that many games against the other teams on Sanhok itself, it's most important that you focus on your own gameplay as a team. Focus on how we're going to win this game. How do we work as a unit to make sure that we can breach into the circle? How we can take control over whatever is in the circle itself. And that is kind of one thing I feel like sometimes people might be split, especially with new lineups. People want to do different things because they're known to do like different things from the previous teams. Yeah. And you kind of bring that experience with you, right?
Yeah.
So the most important thing, be on the same page what you want to do as a team.
Yeah.
Can be difficult though to get on that same page.
Definitely. I mean, especially when you play with different IGLs and so on.
Yeah.
And we're talking about like bringing.
I did not see the plane.
A little
cheeky plane.
Yeah, a little cheeky plane from straight west to straight east.
It's Sanhok. You can literally go anywhere, no matter what.
But of course, choosing where you go can
also
have
tendencies with plane pads. Kind of they sometimes go hand in hand where we see the first circle go.
Is it going to be a corner circle?
No. Well, according maybe it could very well be I think it's going to be a quarry.
So
okay, thank you.
If it's a core circle, I'm just going to say that Omaki drops on the north side of Corey, right?
Okay, Mr. Insider. All right. cool man with your Omakin hoodie from before.
We also have Ents, of course, that likes to drop Corey, but they're not here today. They're not playing right now.
Yeah,
so
that's true.
Who's going to take? Are they going to share the Corey? Are they going to be split? From what we've seen Omakan play is they take the northern side of the quarry, they take a few compounds to the north, and also one of the compounds that we've seen a lot of endings kind of close to west of Ban, the high ground compound. They like to take that early, but they don't have a lot of loot.
Yeah.
Like they are very starved. For me, I feel like they're starved in that drop without having the south of quarry.
That's all good and dandy.
Yeah.
But here's the really serious question.
Yeah.
All right?
Who's going to get the first 3 west? Because we're going to decide.
No, shut up. No.
I'll put my vote down.
The Loot Council is not voting for that right now.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah.
What I want to ask you guys is that PEL, we had a lot of Finnish players. How have we got more Finnish players?
Oh yeah, how many do we have?
There's too many.
We have like 24?
23 or
Is it really 23?
Yeah, something like that.
Finland, calm down.
So in average, 1 Finnish player per team here in the tournament.
That's mental.
A little bit less, but yeah, it's pretty insane.
Tarilla Tavatan, indeed. Jeez. But I mean, able to show up very, very nicely.
So Imka here, or
Imka.
I mean, I feel like this is a team that could surprise us. So far, it hasn't gone too good, but I mean, still a lot of games to play. They have the potential. We've seen them in the scene for a long time, and they qualified here. That's something at least, and it might still be something for them to play for.
They have 6 points so far. They need to start popping off now, otherwise it's going to be too late because we only have 12 games.
I mean, I feel like it's very difficult in these lobbies for a team that maybe is not as well seasoned, experienced on a big LAN stage to try and get into a top 6 to go to a mage. That's a huge leap, surely.
And also,
I mean, they did play in Landtrick last weekend, and they got themselves a 4th place. Now, sure, it wasn't as high grade of teams as on GLL maybe, but still a 4th place there. And the other 3 teams that was on top of them, they're playing here as well. But all 3 of those teams are in Group C.
Stacked. All the Finnish teams are stacked.
Winland, for sure. Like a lot of Winland, of course, here's TSM just gearing up. We are moments away from our game here, but for now we're going to continue chatting because that's what we like to do. We're just having 1 or 2 issues that we're solving here, and then we'll be getting into the game. As you can see, 7 esports rallying together,
screaming "Davai!"
That's exactly what they screamed. I could hear them. Thanks for reiterating that.